he's not feeling good is he don't want to face me after promising you all that yarn.
Probably.
Okay. What, you gonna sit in the back? You don't love us anymore? I'm sorry, what was that? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. What? Sorry, what was you saying? What exactly was it? I've been working on, people tell me I'm loud all the time, so I'm gonna be working on my voice.
Yeah, right. Just give it.
Yeah, right.
Just give it a minute.
Okay. Well, we are back. We are back. So good to see everybody. If you're not here, raise your hand. I said, if you're not here. If you're not here, raise your hand.
I'm the only one.
You asked for it, bro.
I'm the only one getting raised a hand.
I'm beginning to think I'm going to have to go back to remedial classes because there's a lot of folks around here that they're missing.
Hey. Ask Shannon how them remedial classes go. You go down rabbit holes.
Real quick.
She just said you knew all about remedial classes. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, we
No, I tend to take you down rabbit holes really, really fast in those.
All right. Well, let's pick up our story.
Although you go down rabbit holes in here.
Where were we before we? So this. I had to add this. I got here this evening. I pulled it all up, and I realized that I did not include.
I noticed that.
Larry's favorite segment.
I know.
The recap?
So I had to go back there and throw together my where were we slide. So where were we before we were so rudely interrupted? Okay.
It should be PBS interrupted.
No,
So-
game night.
Huh?
It was game night.
It was game night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last week.
That was last week.
Yeah.
It was get together night. So where were we before we so rudely interrupted? So I want to
Right here.
You was right there? So Moses has been to Pharaoh and made his first overture, his first demand, right? Let my people go. And it didn't go well. Because first thing Pharaoh did was like, well, if y'all got so much time on your hands, make bricks with no straw, right? And so he decreed that, and of course got everybody mad, right? They're going, oh, we thought we had it bad before, we got it really bad now. And I included a little phrase here from the movie, right? Pharaoh decrees no more straw, so let it be written, so let it be done, right? So Moses returns to God, and he's whining and complaining. Isn't that the way, right? We go do something, we do it halfway, doesn't work well, we go back to God and we go, see, I told you so. And that's basically what Moses did. He tried to get out of it. But remember, when we were here last, we came to a conclusion, and I think Moses came to this conclusion as well, right? Moses isn't the hero, right? And so I thought it was very, very meaningful, right? That Yahweh, right? Yahweh is the hero, but Yahweh means what? That's God's name. He'd never given that name out before, and it is I am, right? And so what he basically tells Moses is, I am the hero. You aren't the hero. You're not even the hero of your own story. I am the hero. Because he's the one that can get it done, right? And that's always the way. So Yahweh is the hero of every story, including yours. All right. So let's pick up our narrative here. We're going to go back. Exodus 6:14 is where we will pick up the story tonight. And after the story of Moses, he goes to the children of Israel, and he has the thing with the snake that he can do. And of course, the people of Israel accept him. He goes to Pharaoh, but he doesn't do any miracles, right? He just says, let us go. God has appeared to us and told us we got to go. And Pharaoh does the whole thing with, no straw, make bricks. And so suddenly, in the middle of the story, right? We're going down through this story, and this is what we get. These are the ancestors of some of the clans of Israel. Now, you might think that's kind of a unique interlude or intermission in the story, but there is a point to be made here. So let's just read it. These are the ancestors of some of the clans of Israel. The sons of Reuben, Israel's oldest son, were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Their descendants became the clans of Reuben. The sons of Simeon were Shemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul. And I'm trying to pronounce them right, and probably not even close.
Pretty close.
Shaul's mother was a Canaanite woman. The descendants became the clans of Simeon. These are the descendants of Levi, and I've heard Jewish people pronounce that name, and it's Levi. But we're too close to Louisiana, and Levy something to hold back water. So these are the sons of Levi. Yeah. Unless a hurricane hits. These are the sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Levi lived to be 137 years old. The descendants of Gershon included Libni and Shimea, each of whom became the ancestor of a clan. These are the descendants of Kohath, the descendants of Kohath included Amram, Ishar, Hebron, and Uzam. Kohath lived to be 133 years old. The descendants of Merari included Mahali and Mushi. They had to be twins. These are the clans of the Levites as listed in their family records. Now I want you to pay close attention to the next verse. Amram, Amram married his father's sister, Jochebed. Yeah, it's almost a Ray Stevens song. Okay. He married his father's sister. She gave birth to his sons, Aaron and Moses. Amram lived to be 137 years old. Now, the reason these ages keep getting thrown in here, I think, the theologians like to argue, right? Because God told Abraham, you people will be down in Egypt for 400 years. And they argue about, well, if you look at the generations, that doesn't equal 400 years. It only equals about 250. Okay? Well, we just got 3 people here living to be over 130 years old. So do the math. Okay? So I think that's the reason that the ages are put in there. It's people were living a lot longer, even in captivity or in harsh conditions. The sons of Ishar were Korah, Nepheg, and Zersi. The sons of Uziel were Mishael, Elizaphan, and Sithri. Okay? Oh, but we're not done yet. But wait, there's more. Aaron, this is Moses' older brother, married Elisheba, the daughter of Aminadab and the sister of Nashon, and gave birth to his sons Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithmar.
Tongue-tied yet?
I would just love for them to go, and there were 3 sons. It was Fred, Bob, and Sam. But the sons of Korah were Asir, Elkanah, and anyway. The descendants became the clans of Korah. Eleazar, son of Aaron, married one of the daughters of Putiel, and she gave birth to his son Phinehas. And these are the ancestors of the Levite families listed according to their clans. So, in the middle of our story, all of a sudden, we're talking about who's your daddy. I had a week off, okay? I mean, sorry.
So you're throwing hip-hop in there?
You better be nice to me because I got a slide special just for you.
Oh.
I didn't say anything to you.
Yes.
There were daggers. Okay, So in the middle of the story, we're breaking the narrative, and all of a sudden we're talking about genealogy, right? And so the natural question that comes to mind is, what is going on? Why did we suddenly stop at this point in the narrative and go back and start talking about who begat who and who was whose father and where did this one come from? And oh, and by the way, I married my father's sister.
My aunt.
Yeah, my aunt.
I thought we got in trouble for that first part.
First part, what? Oh, you mean way back in the first part?
Yeah.
In the party of the first part, Mary's a party of the second part. Yeah. So we'll get to that in a minute, though. All right. So what we have to understand, to an Israelite, to a Jew, ancestry is everything, right? How many of y'all know somebody in your family who is, and I quote, nuts about looking up where y'all's family came from? Right? I mean, just, who was mama? Who was mama married to? And where did daddy come? When did they come across the big pond, right? Did they come in at Ellis Island? Or did they land on the levee down in Louisiana, right? Who was there, right? And we want to track our family back. My mother went through this phase, and she tracked us back to 1700 something. Never did see who came first, right? But she had names going back generations. And I was like, if I passed them on the street, I wouldn't know who they were, right?
Exactly.
My water trembles in fear of your presence.
All right, let us pray. Let us pray.
His waters are
Just how do you follow that? Hey, wait a minute. That's HEB water. Now, don't be speaking against the HEB now.
I come out of the Houston, one of the bayous.
Okay.
Houston
All right.
Church
So Moses is about to lead the people out of Egypt. He is going to become the lawgiver. And while right now it may not matter to anybody, okay, in a couple of 100 years it will be very important, because the tribe of Levi were the priests. They were the keepers of the law. And so Moses is basically paused in this story, and he is proving his bona fides. Right? He is a member of the tribe of Levi. And even though the priesthood hasn't been set up yet, he is the precursor or the forerunner of that priesthood. Okay? And so that's what we're seeing. He will not be questioned, because when God sets Levi as the priesthood, Moses is already there. And so they can't say, well, we can't trust anything Moses did. He wasn't in the tribe of Levi. Oh, but he was. Okay? And so that's why we see that. So God has Moses insert the family tree. Now, you say, well, why did we start with Reuben? Right? Well, because the proprieties must be observed at all times. Okay, there's your obscure movie reference. If you know where it comes from, get with me after the service. We can talk about it. So, because Levi was the third son, you didn't start with Levi. That would be an insult to the older brothers. So, you did Reuben, you did Simeon, and then you did Levi. Now we're in order. Now you can stop anytime you want to, but you can't start in the middle. You have to start at the beginning, okay? And so we see, as per custom, the respect to Reuben and Simeon first, and then we see the tribes of Levi, or the genealogies of Levi, okay? And so what we're doing is we're proving the bloodlines. Now you say, well, for us in today's society, we're like, yeah, right, whatever, right? Moses parted the Red Sea. That was the only bona fide he needed, right? But later on, when you got rabbis who think they know more than God, and I mean that literally, the fact that Moses is of the tribe of Levi allows certain weight to the things he wrote down. Okay? All right, so tribe of Levi will become priests and keepers of the law. Moses brought the law down from Sinai, and then all of his descendants worked at keeping it. Actually, descendants of Aaron, not Moses specifically, but he was a member of the Levite tribe. Moses and Aaron are the founding members of the priesthood, and so this proves their provenance. Sons of Levi, no Canaanite blood. Now you notice when we were looking into the genealogies here, just a couple of verses back, right? We saw in Simeon's deal, right? One of his sons, right? What is the note that was added to that? Oh, son of a Canaanite woman. And so Simeon's bloodline is polluted. Okay? Now you go, well, what's the deal with bloodlines, right? Well, remember that bloodlines, like genealogies, are very important for inheritance, okay? So there's no Canaanite blood in the tribe of Levi, all right? So now it brings us to Judah. So y'all remember we studied Judah, right? I think he just loves you, brother. That's just the way he said. You walk back there, whack, hit him on the head. Okay, so it brings us to Judah. So you remember the story of Judah and Tamar? Does everybody remember when we covered that? So three of Judah's 4 sons by a Canaanite woman died married to Tamar. Y'all remember that? She had the oldest one, right? And he displeased God, and he died, and the second one was supposed to do the brother's duty, but he was a little lax, and he died, and the third one also. And Judah sent her home and said, hey, live with your daddy, live at home, and when my last son, my 4th son, is of age, I'll give him to you as well, right? And
instead, he gave himself to her.
yeah, so she's up here just giggling, and I'm just.
I know.
So when Judah went into the sheep shearing, and Tamar saw that 4th boy was old enough to be married, but she hadn't been called up yet, right? She was still a lady in waiting. She put on the red dress and sashayed out to the community oak tree, and Judah come waltzing by and said, "Oh, it's the red light district," and.
Not the red dress.
They didn't have red lights back then, so I'm making this up as I go along. But he thought she was a prostitute. He negotiated a price, you remember, and she took from him the staff, the ring, and his bracelets or his mantle, depending on how you interpret the language, right? As a pledge that he would pay the price, which was a couple of lambs or sheep from the flock, for her attention. So as soon as the deed was done, he goes back to the flock, pulls out a nice big fat juicy lamb, sends it back to her, but she's gone home, changed her clothes, and is sitting on the front porch going, what? Right? So fast forward 5-6 months later, what happens in a pregnancy?
She shows.
Thank you. She starts to show. When she starts to show, right, what does that mean?
You're pregnant.
You're pregnant. And everybody knows how we get pregnant. And she's not married. What does that mean? In that culture, that's adultery.
That's killing.
That's adultery, and that's punishable by death, right? You remember? And so Judah calls the whole family. We're going to have a trial. And this woman who's supposed to be faithfully waiting for my 4th son, whom I am delaying the wedding of, right? Because I don't want him to marry her, because every man she's a black widow. Every man she marries dies. She's going to wipe out my whole family before it's over, right? And she's pregnant. This is adultery. This is an insult. And he calls her up. And I can just see in my mind's eye, right, that she doesn't come in like, oh, here I am, sir. She comes in like this.
That's
Right?
What it's like.
And so what?
Probably was.
What did he say?
It's about 3
I'm sorry. Just beware that the sniper's on you,
I
Bubba.
know how you feel.
And so she makes it obvious. She says, "You have been the prostitute." And she says, "Who's the father?" She said, "These belong to the father." And she throws them down. Well, Judah's staring at his own stuff, right? That's my ring. Now he's called the whole family together. So I'm sure that some of Judah's peers are sitting back up there with him going, "Hey, Judah, that looks like your ring, Bubba. Hey, ain't that your staff that you went missing with, that went missing here 6-7 months ago?
5 months ago.
Yeah. Ain't that yours?" And if the wives were there, whoo, boy, I bet there was some tongues wagging. But Judah, to his credit, what does he do? He says,
Confess.
He said, "She is more honorable than I am." Wow. Right? She's more honorable than I am. He brings her home, takes her into the house. He doesn't treat her like a wife that way, but he takes care of her for the rest of life, raises the kid. Okay? So, 3 of Judah's 4 sons by a Canaanite woman died. So you remember Tamar. He slept with Tamar. This redeemed the bloodline of the kings. Because remember, Judah is the tribe of kings. Who else comes from the tribe of Judah? This is the part where y'all get to shout out your answers.
Jesus.
Thank you, brother. This is holy water now.
Is that what it is? It's from the aquifers of Walmart.
From the aquifers of Walmart. So he has redeemed the bloodline of kings. You're like, well, what are you talking about? So think about this. All right, look at verse 23. Aaron married Elisheba, the daughter of Aminadab, the sister of Nashon. Okay? Who is Aminadab? Aminadab is of the tribe of Judah. In fact, he's a direct ancestor of David and later on Jesus. Okay? Aminadab from Judah. If that bloodline had been allowed to continue, Jesus could not be born from it. David would not be the rightful king of it. So I just included this for y'all. Aminadab, Nashon, Salmon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, and David. There's 7 generations there, and David is the 7th son of Jesse. 7 and 7. Completion.
So even though the child was conceived in sin, because she was of the family, the Jewish family, and not a Canaanite, that allowed for the pure blood.
So, describe the sin that the child was conceived in.
Out of wedlock.
I would say out of wedlock, fornication, or adultery, whichever one you want to
Okay,
call it.
but it wasn't, so it's not fornication. In other words, so the custom of the time was that you had to have a male son to continue the inheritance down through the ages. So if one son died, a brother was raised up to take that wife and down through the line, okay? So Judah, albeit unknowingly, stepped into the role of brother and raised up an inheritor for the inheritance that he had received from Israel.
I didn't know if it was because Tamar was a Canaanite that
No, she was.
unclean, or if it was because the reason why God killed off those children.
No. The 4 boys had a mother that was Canaanite.
That's
Right.
why they died.
That's why they died. But Tamar is the redemption of the bloodline. Okay? And so Jesus and all of the kings all the way back, had a line traceable all the way back. Because remember, who are the Canaanites?
They're the half-brothers.
No, the Canaanites are who has inhabited the regions around the Promised Land now. And God, remember what He tells Moses: the Canaanites are an abomination to him. Right? When we studied in the first half, right, God told Abraham, He said, you're going to spend 400 years down in Egypt, away from this place. What was one of the reasons for that? Now, one of the reasons we've talked about is the formation of a nation, right? God has to bring them together. But what was the other reason? We talked about it. And that reason was, God said, the sin of the Canaanites is not yet full. In other words, they hadn't got as bad as they're going to get. And until they get as bad as they're going to get, judgment cannot be rained down on them. Okay? And so He said, when it comes time, I'll be able to judge them because they'll be as bad as they're going to get. So they were an abomination. And so what God is doing is protecting the bloodline down through the ages. Okay? And so Tamar comes back into the house. She raises up a son, and that son becomes a part of the heritage. And that son is traceable down through the kings, even through to Jesus. Okay, so now why is this important? Why is this important? Is because notice that, let me see here, I want to make sure. Yeah, notice that Aaron, let me back up here. Aaron marries who?
Elizabeth.
Elijah. The daughter of Amminadab. Who is Amminadab? He's the son of Judah. So the tribe of Levi and the tribe of Judah get a little cross-pollination. Priest kings. So the Levites are, if you want to look at it, half Judah. All right? So God is protecting those bloodlines because the Levites have to be righteous and holy through their generations, as does Judah. Now, as we go down through, right, what do we see? We see the other tribes kind of spin off, right? But those two remained recognizable, I guess, down through history.
So what you have to understand about the bloodline of Christ is He has to be both priest and king.
Right.
And so if you look at the life of David, if you look at David and he goes into the holy place and he does things inside of the holy place in the tabernacle that other members of the Levitical priesthood are not allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It is because he's both king and priest.
Right.
Whereas true Levitical priests, unless they can trace their bloodline to Judah, they're only priests. They're not part of the kingship.
Right.
They're not part of the royal bloodline.
Right. Now, I do want to bring out, because if y'all going to go home now, you're going to be like, oh, I got to study this.
I can't go home. I got a question.
You can't go home, you got a question? Well, maybe it's a question I'm about to ask.
It's not.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
I have a
Oh yeah, I have
You
a
know,
question too.
but
I don't know why the Cowboys.
But there was a question posed about what was the sin. What was the sin that was committed? We got to remember that Judah was pre-Mosaic law.
Right.
There was no law that says thou shalt not commit adultery. They understood what adultery was, but the custom was, as he said,
Brothers married, right.
Judah's son, the oldest son, had the right of continuing the bloodline and the lineage through his brothers. And so
if Judah's youngest son had married Tamar and had a son himself, that son would not have been known as, I can't remember what the youngest kid's name was, but it wouldn't have been known as his child. It would have been known as the older brother, the dead brother's child.
correct.
So
Or
Tamar's
Judah's
took
child.
the role of his oldest child.
Say again?
So Tamar's kid took the role of
The older
oldest
brother.
child, yeah,
The
oldest-
firstborn
Judah's
son
oldest-
of Judah.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
That's what
So
I was
what
trying
happened
to
to
like.
the other child?
The fourth one,
Yes.
he didn't get anything.
So they married him off to whoever.
That's right. So in this culture, the oldest son got everything.
So Tamar's kid got everything.
Everything. All the land that Judah had, all the sheep that Judah had, all the whatever, okay?
He was the birthright.
He was the birthright child. Now, that's not to say that the father didn't provide gifts to the younger children, right?
Yeah.
He would give them an inheritance, but they didn't get the family business.
They did not become head of the clan.
They did not.
They didn't get the deed
Right.
to the
Okay,
land.
They
like-
didn't.
They did not get the deed to the land.
They did not get the deed to the land.
They were not the executors of the will.
So if let's say, so my father owned a big ranch, and so as firstborn son, I get the ranch. My brother doesn't get the ranch, and he doesn't get the business. But my dad may have purchased land at some other interval in his life. My brother may be gifted that, right?
But he's not going to get the big bunch of.
But he's not going to get the 400-acre, ranch with all the cattle.
With everything
Is
that's
there deer
already
on this land?
established.
If there is, Donnie ain't going to shoot it.
No, but they're cowboys.
Taking care of the cattle.
Taking care of the cattle.
Right. Taking care of the cattle. Yes.
And we take them to town where
They're sold.
the meat packers, the Green Bay Packers, process.
Where they make boxes.
That's right. All right. So, and we see this now.
See, you're back, and there goes the rabbit trail.
There it goes.
Did I tell you at the beginning?
Don't quit encouraging.
So we see a little bit of this in the prodigal son, right? The older brother, the younger brother. The younger brother got an inheritance, but it was all money. And once that was paid to him, there was nothing left for him. The family farm, everything that the father had, right? That was, so when he comes home, the fact that he gets shoes, a robe, and a ring means that whatever he gets now is not owed him, it's not obligation, it is just out of the goodness of his father's heart. We see the older brother gets what? He gets jealous about this. Your
That's
son,
my ring.
that's right. He said, "Hey, this is right. Your son, your brother was dead. He's back. He's returned to us." Okay, so whatever the inheritance was out of the goodness of the father's heart at that point. So we see this now. What I was going to say was, if some of y'all go and do research, you're going to find that Boaz. Yeah, Boaz. I think even Salmon. Salmon married a woman out of Jericho, and
Yeah.
Boaz married a woman out of
She's a Hittite.
Midian.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's where Ruth was from, right? The
Right.
story of Ruth.
That's
You
right.
say, well, wait a minute. Here are these Canaanite women, but A, those two women weren't Canaanite, but B, they were women who demonstrated faith through the, how can I put this? Through the most diluted exposure to God. In other words, they weren't raised in Jewish culture, right? Ruth married into it, and she married into a family that had run from God or run from the homeland, so they weren't exactly great people of faith, right? And Salmon married Rahab.
Yep.
And Rahab, right? What did she say?
Direct lineage.
Right,
Christ.
direct lineage to Christ. So these are foreign women, right? But they are not women of faith. And of course, again, the Canaanite women, the Canaanite people were an abomination. Okay? So,
I have to interject this. Remember what God said about Abraham? That through Abraham, all of the nations of the earth will be blessed through you.
Right.
Right? Now, we understand that he's talking about Christ. God is talking about Christ because Christ comes from Abraham. Because he comes from Isaac. Because Isaac is the son of promise. But you're seeing, even though God tells Joshua and the children of Israel, don't marry the people in that land that I'm sending you to.
Right.
You still see, though, pre-law, pre-Exodus, God allowing Abraham's seed to marry those that are not of the house of Abraham. You can see the blessing there, right? You've got Rahab, who is the one who puts the scarlet, thread or robe or sash hanging out of her window,
Right.
who hides the spies, right? This is a prostitute who is in direct lineage of Jesus Christ, the Lord of all mankind, right? So you see the promise of God through Abraham being lived out in the lives of these people.
Right. I'm trying to think now. Moses had a non-Israeli wife.
Yeah.
But she was not a non-Abraham.
She was from the lineage of Abraham.
She was from the lineage of Abraham. I don't remember. I kind of made this comment, and I wanted to go look real quick.
It's Jethro's daughter.
Ruth. Oh, she was Moab. So no, Moab. Well, no, Moab was because Moab was descendant of Lot.
Yep.
And Lot was not a descendant of Abraham, although he was Abraham adjacent.
Correct.
He was the nephew of Abraham.
Yes.
So,
Through marriage.
so both Ruth and Rahab were from outside, but they demonstrated faith through only the most, like I said, the most casual exposure. Right. In fact, Rahab, where I was going with this a minute ago, Rahab told the spies, "We have heard of your coming," and I know, right? I know that God is on your side, that we don't stand a chance. God is against us. And the selfless act, or the act of potential sacrifice in hiding the spies and sending them out another way, and then lying about it, because they did come looking for them. They said, "Where are the men that came in?" She goes, "Well, maybe they went out through she sent them out through the south." She said, "I think they went out through the north gate. If you hurry, you might still catch them." So she covered their escape. And that act of faith was her salvation. That and the spies told her, put the ribbon up, right? Because they had no idea how they were going to take the city. They didn't know they were going to march around 7 times and the walls were going to fall down flat. So what they were doing is they were just simply putting a flag in the window so they could tell their buddies, "Don't go into that house and kill anybody." The window with the red sash. They didn't realize the miracle that they were setting up. Everybody thinks, all right, so rabbit trail. This is just for you. Everybody thinks the miracle of Jericho was the walls falling down flat. The miracle of Jericho was the one section of the wall where Rahab lived that didn't fall down.
That's right.
It remained intact and safe. And everybody in that house, because she had gathered her whole family, everybody in that house. I heard a rabbi say this one time, and I thought it was so good. He said, in the Passover, which we haven't got to yet in our study, in the Passover, what did they do to escape the judgment of God?
Blood of the Lamb.
Blood of the Lamb on the doorpost, right? And what did the judgment of God, or the angel of death that God sent down, what did he do? He passed by. But what did he see? Blood on the doorpost. Did he go into the house and evaluate each member and say, okay, no. He saw the blood on the door. The sin in the house was not assessed. I should think about that for a minute, right?
Covered by the blood.
It was covered by the blood. Very good. It was covered by the blood. When Rahab put that red thread in the window, or red rope in the window, it was the same thing. The judgment of God did not go into the house and judge the sin. It simply saw the blood on the window and passed over that section of the wall.
So would you think the blood of the lamb represents the sacrifice of Jesus later on?
Yes.
That's exactly what
Yes,
it is.
that's exactly what it is. Jesus was celebrating the Passover and then showing the true meaning of the Passover via the crucifixion.
If you read the Exodus carefully enough, you will read the words that the Lord, and the word Lord represents Jesus Christ before he is incarnate, led them through the wilderness. Christ himself led the children of Israel.
Even though he physically was not
He
born
was not,
yet.
but he was leading them, right?
He was-
So
he always had-
this story is very important for us to understand. When we read the scripture, you have to read it in context. You have to read it for what it says and not what it doesn't say, right? So we read the 10 Commandments where it says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." When we say, well, lying is a sin, is lying a sin? In that circumstance, lying was not a sin.
That's
And
not
even if
just
it was, it was covered, right? Just like he said, the sin inside the house on the other side of that door frame
We're never evaluated.
was not evaluated.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So the blood of Jesus covers our heart, right? So the sin of our heart is never evaluated. God never sees it because he doesn't go in and look. He sees the blood of Jesus and passes over, right?
Yeah.
Now, you say, you bring up a really good point, and I have been in a church where there was great contention because that exact point was made by the pastor, right? Is this the commandment does not say thou shalt not lie. It says thou shalt not bear false witness against who?
Your neighbor.
Your neighbor. Okay.
But the commandments weren't.
Well, no, they're not given yet.
Right.
But
So this is before the
we're on
commandments.
a little bit of a rabbit trail.
We're on that trail.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so
We're going forward.
now.
Why is it wrong to falsely testify against somebody?
Because it's wrong.
Yeah, it's
Because
it
no,
punishes
you gotta
somebody
understand,
that's done no wrong.
what was the culture?
that's good.
There you go. What was the culture at the time? If I bear false witness against somebody and there's nobody else to counter my testimony can send someone to the gallows, to the
Right.
death
To
chamber.
death.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right?
so no,
Yes.
you nailed it. You nailed it. That was very astute.
Did you hear that?
Oh, you're such a teddy bigger.
Hey, Charlie looked over and said, points.
That deserves some chocolate chip cookies.
Hey, if she's making chocolate chip cookies, I'll have cookies.
Smart water?
Smart one.
Yeah.
No, say what you said again. Say what you said again.
I said it punishes somebody that's done no wrong.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I bear false witness, I am telling a lie to hurt you and improve me.
Right.
Okay? So I'm telling a lie so that money is taken away from you and given to me. A job is taken away from you and given to me. A car is taken away from you and given to me. A husband or a wife is taken away from you and given to me. Right? I am degrading you in order to build myself up. This is bearing false witness. All right? Now, what do most lies do? They do that very thing, right?
Yes.
They tear someone else down, and
Build
by
somebody up.
right by insinuation, at least, I would never be that way. That person, she colors her hair. I would never. Right?
No comment.
That's pride. That's not
Hey,
pride.
All right, hey.
I'm trying to pick the simplest thing, and I'm,
We're down this rabbit trail. Let's stay in for a minute because it's a good trail. No, check it out. What are the commandments designed to do?
To make you
Guidelines.
as godlike
They're
as possible.
guidelines.
The commandments reveal to us the character of God.
very good. Yes.
God, when He bears witness against us or about someone, it is never false. It is always true. But here's the beautiful thing about that. Christ, He is in the presence of the Father, bearing testimony on our behalf. Right? And His testimony is true. But he doesn't testify to the things that we have done. He testifies to the fact that we are his.
Right.
Right? And he does not bear false witness against us. He doesn't even bear testimony against us that is true. Because if he bore true testimony about us, we would have no hope. His testimony to the Father for us is, they belong to me. I died for them.
There you go. There you go. That's what I was fixing to say. When he testifies about our sin, what is it that he testifies?
I died for them.
I paid that price.
Yeah, they are covered.
I paid that price. I heard a story.
He covers the tab.
Done.
I heard a story. I thought it was so good.
Probably.
There was a king who was well known for being the most just and the most loving king. And so that was his reputation. Everybody, they set great store on that. So one day the royal auditors came to him and said, we're missing money out of the treasury. Somebody's sneaking in there and stealing money. We don't know who. We can't catch him. And so he said, all right. He said, so here's what's going to happen. He said, we're going to catch, if we catch the thief will pay back everything that has been stolen. And so some time went by. They still didn't catch the thief. And so finally he said, okay, look, this is getting ridiculous. It's starting to get into some money. He said, the thief now will get 40 lashes. There will be 40 lashes paid out. Now, in the ancient culture, 40 lashes is the same as death penalty.
Yeah.
Okay? So then they caught the thief. And it turned out it was the daughter of the king. And so now what does the king do? He's a loving king. He's also a just king. He has made a judgment that is justice, right? So they bring the daughter in, and they tie her over the stump, split the shirt or the blouse off of her back so her back is exposed, and the executioner gets ready. And he's going to lay 40 lashes on this girl's back. And the king stands up. So in this culture, when the king stands up, everything stops. He takes off his shirt, goes down to his daughter, and lays over her back. And he tells the executioner, proceed. And takes all 40 lashes. That's a just king and a loving king right there. That's what was done for us. That's the story of the gospel right there. Right? Justice and love, forgiveness. Right? It had to be paid. But the king knew she couldn't pay it. So he paid it for her. Right? So, all right. So, continuing on. Get out of this rabbit hole. Come and let us down this rabbit hole. All right. So
I told you at the beginning.
This is verse 26. The Aaron and Moses named in this list are the same ones to whom the Lord said, lead the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. Right? So that's why that genealogy is there. This is the same people. I mean, there's a lot of people who could have been named Moses. Even today, we have a lot of people named Aaron. Okay? It was Moses and Aaron who spoke to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, about leading the people of Israel out of Egypt. When the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, he said to him, this is God speaking, I am the Lord. Tell Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, everything I am telling you. But Moses argued with the Lord, saying, I can't do it. I'm such a clumsy speaker. Why should Pharaoh listen to me? So just so you know, even Moses likes a good review. Okay, that's the review slide right there. Moses stopped the story, put the genealogies in, tied up the genealogies, and then did a quick recap so we would know where we were, Brother Larry. Even in the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, there's a review slide, okay? So there. Moses felt it was important to do that. Okay, so continuing with the story, then the Lord said to Moses, pay close attention to this. I will make you seem like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. Tell Aaron everything I command you, and Aaron must command Pharaoh to let the people of Israel leave this country. But I will make Pharaoh's heart stubborn so I can multiply my miraculous signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. Even then, Pharaoh will refuse to listen to you, so I will bring down my fist on Egypt. Then I will rescue my forces, my people, the Israelites from the land of Egypt, with great acts of judgment. Okay? So, remember last week we talked about God saying, just get in the game. I'm the hero. I'll work the miracles. You just get out and do what I'm telling you to do. Right? Huh?
Puppet.
Not a puppet per se, but you do. In other words, you go around the front and you distract them. I'm going in the back. Don't worry about what you hear or see. I'm doing the work. Yeah. Don't worry about the mule. Just load the wagon. Okay. All right. So, continuing. When I raise my powerful hand and bring out the Israelites, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord commanded them. Moses was 80 years old. Aaron was 83 when they made their demands to Pharaoh. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Pharaoh will demand, show me a miracle. Now remember, this is after the straw, right? They went first. And it was kind of a very polite, very diplomatic, we'd like to go into the desert for 3 days or 4 or 5 or something for a while.
Very vague.
Right? And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Pharaoh will demand, show me a miracle. When he does this, say to Aaron, take your staff, throw it down in front of Pharaoh. It will become a serpent. Now remember, that was the first thing he'd given them to show the children of Israel. Now he's changing. He says, brother, I want you to take a deep breath. Okay. So he said, you will throw down your staff and it will become a serpent. Special effects. Okay, it's over, brother. We're done. All right. Hey, look, I work extra to make that work right. Okay. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh, did what the Lord had commanded them. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a serpent.
You said he was going to be quiet.
You showed him, Mama. Come on.
Yeah.
Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a serpent. And then Pharaoh called in his own wise men and sorcerers, and these Egyptian magicians did the same thing with their magic. They threw down their staffs, which also became serpents. But then Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Pharaoh's heart, however, remained hard. He still refused to listen, just as the Lord predicted. Okay, so the first verses here we see God reviews Moses' instructions on how to deal with Pharaoh. Unlike before, this time God does not tell Moses to talk to the people, but directly to Pharaoh. Right? He says, don't go to the people, go to Pharaoh. He speaks directly to Moses' fear of being good enough by telling him that you're going to be like God to Pharaoh, and Aaron's going to be your prophet. Aaron's going to do the speaking. What's really fascinating about this story as we read farther through it, Aaron hardly says a word. Moses does all the talking. Why? Because Moses has learned his lesson about who the hero of the story is. God's the hero. Moses is not responsible. See, we carry around that weight. I got to make this work. I got to be good. I got to make this work. I got to be the hero. It's all up to me. No, it's not up to you. Just do what God told you to do. He'll work out the details, okay? God is immediately removing the objection Moses has brought up at every opportunity. And once again, he reminds Moses that it's he, God, that will bring down his fist to get Israel out of Egypt. Moses is not going with great strategy, going to do it. God is going to do it. Okay? So now, notice here that verse 5 provides the why for all of this. He says, when I raise my powerful hand and bring out the Israelites, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. Okay? So the reason that God is going to go through all these mighty signs, or one of the reasons that God is going to go through all these mighty signs, is to drive a pagan people to a realization that their gods are false and that Yahweh is the one true God. Okay? Now, they haven't been raised to know anything about it. They've been raised to have solid faith in all of their gods, right? And we'll see that in the plagues. We'll talk about their gods and stuff. So how hard is it to give up a lifelong faith in a false god and accept something that is completely new and completely strange? It takes a lot. It takes a lot, right? And that's what God's saying. I'm going to prove to them I'm the real God, right? Okay? So now, the opening gambit here is to work the staff snake miracle, right? He's going to say, throw down the snake, and his staff is going to become a snake, which Moses instructs Aaron to do, and he does. But Pharaoh's magicians, using, quote, magic, do the same. Okay? Now, okay. So, why would God start with such an easily duplicated trick? I mean, why not go right to the, all right, I'm fixing to sweep across the land and kill all the firstborn?
Because he's got his business.
Well, because he didn't want to do it that way. Yeah, ma'am.
And he had already told him that he was going to make the Pharaoh stubborn. I mean,
He's going to, but have you ever been fishing?
yes.
Anybody ever been fishing? Okay.
I'm not patient enough for that.
When the fish takes the bait, the next move is to what? Set the hook.
Yep.
Now, how many of y'all have had a fish take the bait and then spit it out before you can set the hook, right? And then you reel it all back in, and there's no bait on your hook. The fish is gone, right? The bait is gone, and you got nothing, right? So what God is going to do here is He doesn't intend just to force Egypt to do that. He's got to break them. He's going to break them, and we're going to see that, right? So the bait was that initial demand. Let us go out into the desert, and Pharaoh, he responded with, okay, no straw for the bricks, right? Now God's going to set the hook. So in Pharaoh's eyes, this is a simple trick, right? It's a simple trick. Now Moses and Aaron, they know what's behind it, right? For them, this is a miraculous transformation. There's no trick to it, okay? But magic, what is magic? Have you ever watched a magician?
It's an illusion.
Sleight of hand, trickery, angles of perception. Magicians can do the same, okay? I watched a show one time where they were talking about magic and how it all worked. And the magician, he brought somebody up out of the audience, and he set them in a chair, just like this. The audience is out here, and he set them in a chair. And he said, now, I am going to make things disappear right before your eyes. And the guy sitting in the chair is like, yeah, right, sure. And so he took a simple piece of paper like this, and he wadded it up into a ball. And he said, okay. He said, are you ready? And he gets down eye to eye. He said, get ready, because here it comes. Abracadabra! And he does like that, and he shows him his hands. Well, now, what the guy did, the guy would blink every time he would do his hands at his face like that. The guy would, oh, what? And then the guy would look at his hands, and he would go, it's gone. It's amazing. What everybody in the audience could see was that piece of paper, he just threw it right over his head. It was laying on the stage right behind him. He did this trick 10 or 12 or 15 times. There was paper all over the guy. The man in the chair was amazed. Pharaoh's the man in the chair. Pharaoh is the man in the chair. And the magicians, they're playing tricks. Sleight of hand, right? Don't know how they did it, but they were throwing down things that looked like staffs that became serpents. But what was the kicker? Right? By trickery, they could do what appeared to be the miracle that Moses and Aaron were working. But what happened next, they couldn't do. Aaron's snake ate theirs.
Yep.
And then Aaron bent down and picked his snake up, and what was it? It was a stick.
It was a staff.
It was a staff again, right? So they couldn't handle that because they weren't prepared for it. Magic, particularly sleight of hand. Now we're discounting any occult or supernatural power of Satan here. Okay, if that was involved, then there's no telling what was going on there. I don't think so, and I don't think so because I think if it had been, it would have been told us in the story. All right, it was told us in the story of Adam and Eve that Satan was involved. It's told us in stories all throughout Scripture when Satan gets involved. There's no mention of him here. So I take that by reason of the other examples that he was not in this part of the story, which means the magicians were using trickery, sleight of hand, distraction, that kind of thing. But they couldn't get their snakes out of Aaron's snake and have him go the other way and swallow the other way around, right? So they couldn't handle. God's snake eats theirs, okay? The difference between a true work of God and a counterfeit is that God's work stands.
It's permanent.
Right? It doesn't come apart upon close scrutiny. You may not be able to explain it, but neither can you ignore it. Okay? So while it was embarrassing for the magicians, right, because their snake got eaten, right, it gives Pharaoh the excuse he needs. Right? This is a cheap magician's trick. The hook is set. Pharaoh can't get out of it now, right? He is bound and determined to follow this course of action. And we will see this as we go through. We'll see him. He'll start to go, oh, well, I better let you go, and then he'll change his mind, right? Because the hook is set. And if you've ever been fishing, like I said before, with a big fish. Now, if you're fishing for crappie, right, you get the hook set, you just lift them out of the water and set them in the boat, right? But if you've ever been with a big fish, right, you can't do that. What do you got to let them do? You got to let them run. They think they're getting away, right? They're running, and you playing out that line and say, okay, now I'm going to bring you back a little bit. And you bring them back in a little bit. You tire them out, and then what do? You let them run a little more. Right? And you keep doing that until you break them. That's what's going on here. Okay? The hook is set. Pharaoh's has his destiny has been set. So, all right. So next week. Oh wait a minute, where's mine? Oh, here it is. Next week, I think we will finally get to. Oh no. Okay. Our hero will say, "What's red?"